But this comet is not a stationary object. You're not hanging a picture on a wall. You got to get the right trajectory. You got to get the right speed. You got to land on the comet.
I said the moon.
Well, it's a hard
one small step.
It's
one
harder
giant
to
step.
get it on the comet. It's harder.
The moon.
Harder still to get it on Cupid and Blitzen, kids. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Aaron Rodgers wanted more, Richie Incognito wants a job, and the Cavs want you to believe Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were sharpening their mustaches.
Oh, sure.
But we begin today with the current college football rankings by that Blue Ribbon Committee. It has Mississippi State first. It has one loss, Oregon second, vaulting over undefeated and defending national champion Florida State at 3. And it has TCU at 4, ahead of Alabama. Wilbon, did the committee pick the 4 you would pick?
Nope. Mississippi State, Florida State, and you can pick them in whatever order. I'm still, keeping those teams at the top of my 4. I told you I would have Alabama third last week. I'm certainly not going to not have them third this week. I'd have Oregon fourth. TCU would be on deck with plenty of chances to get in. Because,
no, we're talking about right now.
Okay, but I would have, so those would be my 4. Tony, I'm not going to quibble with the 4 that the committee selected. I'm not going to say they were wrong or have any outrage, but my 4 would have had Alabama third, Oregon fourth.
Here's what the committee says. And by the way, the show that unveils the rankings is great. It's great. It moves fast. It attacks all the issues. It has responsible people talking about why the committee selected what they did. But the committee says that it values body of work.
Right.
Body of work, like it's looking
strength
for
of schedule.
William
That's all
Shakespeare,
that is.
because he had a real body of work. Now, listen, if you value body of work above everything else, Florida State has no business being in the top 4.
Well, that's why
they have no business being in the top 4.
Yeah.
Now, I would point out Florida State hasn't lost yet. All right? Notre Dame, I thought, had them beat. I thought Notre Dame got
entry
hosed.
on body of work.
Well,
have not lost yet or haven't played as tough a schedule as an SEC team.
It's got to be the schedule.
We know that.
But if you don't like the ACC, still they're one of the big conferences. And Florida State hasn't lost. So I think that's a dilemma. I'm going to give you something else,
Give me your
too.
4, by the way.
Wait a second.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the other thing that is bothersome to me, and it deals with Oregon. All right? Clearly, since the committee says it's a clean slate every week is a clean slate for each team. So last week,
when body of work says
when
it's not
Oregon went at Utah, Utah was number 17.
That's right.
They beat them. TCU,
in Utah.
I understand. TCU at home. TCU beat number 7 Kansas State. The committee valued both of those over LSU beating the 16 team. Not LSU, Alabama beating 16 LSU on the road in a place where at night they were 46-3. How can you do that?
You're speaking my language now because Alabama to me has to be rewarded. But let me just go real quickly to something. You have been driving the TCU bus for a couple of weeks.
I think they should be in there.
But you never adequately explained to me how it is they lost to Baylor. One lost Baylor, and yet I don't hear you talking up Baylor.
No, I can't adequately explain that, so I don't bother.
Oh, good. I like
Alabama's one loss, by the way, was on the road to the number 10 team. Oregon's one loss was at home to the number 14 team.
Alabama's going to be in the Final Four and win the tournament. Alabama.
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
Yes, I am.
No,
I'm listening.
You're not.
It's been a while since we talked baseball, Tom. But award season is in full effect, and we're awaiting the announcement in a few minutes that Clayton Kershaw is going to win his 3rd Cy Young Award. Nobody debates this. It's a regular season award, and nobody was close to Kershaw. But given that he was 0-2 in the playoffs with an ERA of 7.85,
no good.
While Madison Bumgarner was 4-1, saved Game 7 of the World Series 5 innings pitched, and was the MVP of said series, how in the world can anybody call Kershaw baseball's best pitcher?
I can and I will, because if I'm building a baseball team, I'm building for 162. I'll get to the playoff issue later after you go crazy about the playoff issue.
Shortly.
But I'm going to build for 162 because you can't get to the playoffs unless you win 162. These two pitchers, let's go to the last 3 seasons.
Okay.
Because Bumgarner's got 2 World Series rings in the last 3 seasons, right? They are in the same division. They're in the same league. Last 3 seasons, Kershaw is 51-21. Bumgarner's 47-30. ERA last 3 seasons, Kershaw is 2.04. Bumgarner's 3.04.
Yeah. This is nice. When I reported to work for the Washington Post, particularly as a columnist, when I had hair then, and I think you did too.
I did too. I had your hair.
One of the things I got from a mentor named Anthony Kornheiser was, listen to me, you young punk. don't ever value the regular season over the playoffs, because pro sports are about one thing, the postseason, and if you ever write anything different than that, you're a moron. So let's go back. Let's go back to that statement and that wonderful advice you gave me. You can never value anything that happens in the regular season, not even in baseball, where the regular season is a marathon, over what happens in the playoffs.
I have no idea who Anthony Irwin Kornheiser is.
You do.
And I understand.
And I know you believe that. What? I know that in your heart
thing is
you believe that.
It's troubling. As it is troubling with Peyton Manning, as it was troubling with Greg Maddux.
And so you got to go with the other guy.
So, well,
why do you play to win? You play to win the game, to win the ring.
Was historic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Kershaw will do better. I hope he does better at some other point.
I'd have him.
So at the moment, if you're asking me what I would do, I would give Bumgarner the ball if my life depended on the game.
Well, that's all that matters.
But every other game, because your life doesn't depend on all of them, I would give the ball to Kershaw.
That's fine. But what you're admitting is, it's Bumgarner. He's the best.
Mike, who would you rather have on your team? For 162, who would you rather have?
Bumgarner. Because I can win the wild card and then hand him the ball in game one.
Yesterday, on his weekly radio show, Aaron Rodgers admitted he wanted to stay in the Bears game Sunday night and try to get both the Packers and the NFL record of 7 touchdown passes in one game. Rodgers, who had 6 at the half, let me repeat that, at the half, said, quote, "It would have been nice to get 7. I know it's 42-0, but it's still the NFL. There are talented guys who are getting paid on both sides."
They getting paid?
Unquote. Well, should Aaron Rodgers have been given the chance to get 7 or even 8 touchdown passes?
I don't know about should, Tony. I don't have any feeling about whether he should or whether he deserved. I don't have a feel for that. What I do have a feel for is why would he stop at 7 or 8? Aaron Rodgers could have thrown 11 touchdown passes, could have thrown 9 just to Jordy Nelson against the Bears in that particular game. Look, the Green Bay Packers don't owe the Chicago Bears jack. They are rivals. They are the oldest rivals in professional football. They owe them nothing. And I hear people in Chicago, and I'm a Chicago and a Bear fan all my life, and they say, oh, the Packers, they were yucking it up on the sideline. They earned it. If Aaron Rodgers had stayed in that game, if his coach had left him in, it would have been fine with me. You want to do something about it, stop him.
We're going to talk about now what would have been the ultimate second guess. If Rodgers stays in that game and it's 42-0, he stays in that game. The only reason he's staying in the game is for personal gain. Yeah. Personal gain. Probably because of 2 things. One, Doug Flynn once went into a game and got 6. Matt Flynn. Doug Flynn was the second baseman for the Mets. Matt Flynn got 6 in one game, so Rodgers' work looked devalued. Also, Brett Favre had 6. So you want to get to 7 if you're Aaron Rodgers. If he gets hurt, Mike, he gets hurt, if the Chicago Bears want to break his leg because he's out there at 42-0.
That's fair, too.
Right.
Because the Bears owe the Packers
then
nothing.
Mike McCarthy is destroyed, Mike.
Well, you know what's interesting?
You had to make the decision that was made.
Aaron said that. It was in a conversation in which he was asked, I think, on his radio show. And that's all nice. I watched the game, every snap. It was painful. Aaron Rodgers didn't try to go for 7 or 8, and he could have, because they got close. They kicked the field goal. Rodgers gave that sheepish grin like, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing here. Aaron Rodgers is a good guy.
Get out of the game.
Nothing in him said, I'm going to rub their nose in it, because it's not who he is as a person. Good for him.
If he had gotten hurt,
just get out.
That's it.
Out. He didn't do it. He could have done it. Could have gone for 11. Could have Bob Beeman did against the Bears.
Let me explain something to you probably don't know.
What?
Jordy Nelson is still open. He's still open.
Be open next game they play, too, next year.
Please continue.
Richie Incognito worked out for the Denver Broncos Monday. But like the other clubs he worked out for, the Broncos took a pass, even though they could use help at guard. And according to Pro Football Focus, Incognito ranked 13th out of 71 players at his position when he was suspended last year. Thing is, Fox's Jay Glazer is reporting that teams including the Chiefs and Buccaneers got skittish about signing Incognito after numerous calls from people inside the NFL. Tony Farrell filed that Incognito apparently can't get a job.
I am surprised by this. Look, I understand certain things are tough. I think it's very tough to bring Richie Incognito into a team and you have a coach, a general manager, an owner literally put their arms around him now. I understand that's tough. I also think it's a country of second chances. And I believe that Ray Rice is going to eventually get a second chance. And I believe Adrian Peterson, quicker than Ray Rice, is going to get a second chance. Richie Incognito bullied somebody. Michael Vick got a second chance after a scandalous thing with the repeated killing of dogs. So I am surprised that Incognito does not have a job, and I am troubled by the notion that there are phone calls from the league.
So you believe he was blacklisted, or he is being blacklisted?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. I don't want Richie Incognito on my team. And here's the reason why, Tony. And there are much more heinous things, as you mentioned, that people have been sanctioned for. Much more heinous, even than bullying, which is heinous enough. But, Tony, when you talk about the chemistry of a football team and bringing somebody in an offensive line that can be eyebrows raised, I don't want him. I don't have to have him. You can go out and get another guard. Maybe he'll be 16th ranked or 19th ranked or 23rd ranked. But the chemistry that is required to play on that unit and how it affects the room would keep me from signing incognito. I told you earlier this year, I don't want Jameis Winston on my team. I don't want a player of that prominence with these troubles and lack of judgment.
Let's go to the incognito issue.
Okay.
Who apparently got along with most of the other linemen in that room for a couple of years.
Okay.
And let's go to the racial overtones of everything he said. Bradley Cooper's still in the league.
Yeah.
And functioning well,
Yes.
it seems.
Well,
right?
but he didn't have to go out in the open market.
Are you not
He stayed with his team.
They kept him, which is a hard
They kept him
call,
because
too.
Michael Vick
That's right.
put his
who
arm
is now
around him.
gone.
Yeah.
Somebody has to put their arm around Richie Incognito. Are you not surprised that he hasn't had a second chance?
Not yet. The season's not over?
Well, he's out a full year now. Suspended out. He's lost a lot of games.
Tony, I hate to sound too tough love about this. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned. A harsh one.
Remember yesterday when we showed you that video of the complicated handshake between Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving?
Oh, yeah.
And appeared at the end of said handshake, they were smoking a joint? Well, the Cavs are saying what the final gesture really was them, quote, quickly sharpening the end of an imaginary mustache, unquote. Wilbon, are you buying this?
Neither one of these gentlemen is Raleigh Fingers. Now, I'm skewing older now. You, of course, remember Raleigh Fingers. Raleigh Fingers had the great handlebar mustache. Didn't Eckersley later come by a mustache like that? But, baseball, they have all these beards and mustaches and all these things. That is not what I thought. Okay, right. I'm not going to accuse these guys of anything. Nothing. So I don't know if this report is deserved or this speculation is deserved. But I was not thinking cutting or twirling a mustache when I looked at that.
When I heard this a couple of hours ago, this is the greatest explanation I've ever heard. I love it. I want to buy it, that they were twirling an imaginary mustache.
Yeah.
That's almost as good as they were smoking an imaginary joint, which is exactly what I believe had happened. And there's a couple of lessons here. One of the lessons is very simple, that when you are toiling for the Minnesota Timberwolves and winning 23 games, or you are toiling with the Cleveland Cavaliers
LeBron Cavaliers
and winning 19 games, nobody cares what
Nobody's
you do.
paying attention.
But when you play alongside LeBron James, everything is magnified.
There are really as you and I both know, some smart PR people in professional sports. And part of their job.
How many people and how many hours did this take? How many people, how many hours?
5 minutes. One really smart person. One really smart.
Whoa.
I know a lot of the PR guys in the NBA.
5 hours.
No. You look at when you put your hand up to how many things you be dealing with? Lips? Oh, imaginary chapstick?
Kyrie Irving.
Or mustache.
Kyrie Irving is spinning the same thing. Again, but I know I said this yesterday, but what I like about this is it looks like those two guys like each other. That's good.
Why wouldn't they?
That's good. Well, there could easily, everybody's looking for dissension on that team. That would be good.
Okay.
Let's take a break. But we still need to decide. It's time for toss-up, and here's how it works. I give the correct answer, and then Wilbon blabbers to the bell, often copying my exact answer.
Because I want your answer.
What's first?
Toss-up, they play on Sunday. More likely to fall apart, the Lions or the Cardinals?
My initial reaction is it would be the Cardinals because they've undergone the shift at quarterback to Drew Stanton, right?
Yeah.
But he started 3 games from him, 1-2, and he came in relief, and he won that. And I think coaches would tell you something like, in the most stressful circumstance, in the first game with the new guy, you can actually win that game. So what I'm going to say is it's going to be the Lions, even though, and this is a scary part for my pick, Arizona's got 2 Seattles, 1 San Francisco, and a Kansas City left.
Hard.
Yeah.
And the flip of that, Tony, is the Lions have, and they got to play at Packers and at Patriots, but they got the Buccaneers, the Vikings, and most importantly, in their favor for the Lions, they got the Bears twice.
Yeah.
So that's a much easier schedule. But let me just say this. I don't think either one of them are going to collapse. Jim Caldwell and Bruce Arians, along with Mike Pettin, those are your leaders to me for Coach of the Year.
Sure.
And those guys seem to know how to hold teams together.
So you ducked the question.
I'm going to say Cardinals because they got a quarterback situation.
Next, he ducked it. Next.
Toss-up, they also play on Sunday. Who's had the better season, Tom Brady or Andrew Luck?
Wait, let me go first. Let me make this real easy.
I know what you're going to say.
Tom F. Brady. Okay, the rest of the time is yours.
Okay. Well, it's very hard to argue against Brady, particularly ever,
That's
but
right.
particularly in the last
Never.
5 games. Here are some statistics that people will want to hear. Brady's 5-0 in his last 5.
Ding, ding, ding.
He's got 18 touchdown passes and 1 interception.
You don't need to keep going.
Well,
That's it.
Okay. But I need to make the case for Andrew Luck because I just want you to hear it. Andrew Luck's having a spectacular year. He's got almost 700 more passing yards than Tom Brady so far this year.
That doesn't matter.
Same amount of games.
That
He
doesn't
has
matter.
4 more touchdown passes.
Neither does that.
Same amount of games.
Neither does that.
His team has scored the most
That doesn't matter
points
either.
in the NFL.
How many do you need to win by?
1, but they've scored the most. So
what?
that's the case for Andrew Luck. Now
There's no
ask me
case.
who I'm going to pick.
You're going to pick Tom Brady because you are not a
Golden boy,
complete
baby.
and utter fool.
Next.
What's next?
Toss-up more likely to make the NBA Finals, the Raptors or the Grizzlies?
All right, neither is likely, even though they're both 7-1, which means they have 74 more games
The Grizzlies
before
have
they
been
get to the
in
playoffs.
the conference finals, Tony,
Okay.
2 years ago.
You know what? And maybe you want to pick them in the murderous Western Conference where there are so many
It's
teams.
hard, yeah.
In the East, there are only 2 teams discernibly better than Toronto. One is Chicago, one is Cleveland.
I'm not
the
sure
Wizards
either one of those
were
is
supposed to be
better.
very
Wizards
good.
really good.
They went to Toronto.
They got crushed.
They got their doors blown off.
Message game,
So I'm
statement
going
game.
to say neither likely, but I'll pick Toronto.
Neither likely. In Toronto, what Masai Ujiri has done up there with them and that roster and putting it together, they're not even on the radar. Not
That's
under
right.
it, because nobody cares because it's Toronto.
That's right.
The Grizzlies, Tony, with Randolph and Gasol, Mike Conley's the most underrated point guard in the league, I think. They've got Courtney
conference.
Lee
Tough
playing well. But,
conference.
Tony,
Tough conference.
they've been in the conference finals. They lost to San Antonio.
Tough conference.
They can do this. The answer is
So you're
Memphis.
picking them?
Memphis,
You're
yeah.
wrong. Next.
Toss-up last one. What's the better half of Cody Grice's head, the left or the right?
Okay, again, the player's name is Cody Grice. He plays for Terry Bowden at Akron. This is one of the weirdest haircuts I have ever seen outside World of Warcraft. I mean, it's like really ridiculous. I tend to favor the furry side because I have no hair myself, but I'm just going to give you his stats. He's 5'11", 285. So if I see him coming this way down the street, I am ducking into an alley.
5'11",
I'm afraid of this
285,
guy.
maybe you can just outmaneuver him at 5'11", 280. That's a lot of stuff to
He's a
move.
football player.
There's only one answer to this question. Shave it off, shave it all off. That's what you should do. That's what you should do.
What about what should he do?
He got confused. Clearly somebody like you talked him out of it, and he didn't go all the way.
Weird.
Gillette. That's
a
the key
weird
word in this
haircut.
argument.
Wilbon channeling 1975
Take it
Noxzema
off.
commercial.
Take it all off.
That's it. Another cake. You should hear what we say before we go on the air. Happy time, people. Happy 70th birthday, Al Michaels. Al is our good friend and one of the great play-by-play guys of all time. He has a new book called You Can't Make This Up, which he wrote with John Wertheim. Wilbon, aren't you a little insulted that Al didn't ask either of us to write this book?
I'm not supposed to tell you this, but he asked me.
Oh, he
and
did?
I was kind of busy. I can't wait to read the book, but the Cosell stories particularly, you know those are going to be juicy.
Happy anniversary, Andrew Wiggins and Jabari Parker. On this day last year, Wiggins beat Parker in the tip-off to the college season. This summer, Wiggins and Parker went 1-2 in what was supposed to be the greatest draft of all time, a draft to tank for. So far, results are underwhelming. Wiggins is averaging 9-3 for the Timberwolves. Parker averaging 11-6 for the Bucks.
Yeah, but it's okay for the Bucks. They're 4-4, Tony. The Bucks haven't been 500 at this point since like Ray Allen left about a dozen years ago.
Happy trails to the old NBA record for career misses. Kobe Bryant missed 16 of his 26 shots last night to give him 13,421 career misses, vaulting him past John Havlicek for #1 all-time miss list.
Hondo.
Wilbon, I think you got to be great to miss that many shots. How about you?
Havlicek, Elvin Hayes, Karl Malone, Kareem, and Michael Jordan. Is that a list anybody who's ever dribbled a ball would want to be on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One error, it turns out Brett Favre never had 6 touchdown passes in a game.
Stop
and the
slurping
person
him.
who gave me that stat
Stop
has been
slurping
fired.
Favre.
We go to the big
He's
finish.
retired for 5
The Red
years.
Sox are reportedly all in on signing Pablo Sandoval. Do you want to see him leave the Giants?
I want to see the Giants have a chance for a true dynasty in baseball, and they need Sandoval for that. Arizona State has hired Phil Mickelson to be their interim assistant golf coach. Does that make sense?
It's his school. He lives there. Sure, who wouldn't want him? The Rams have benched quarterback Austin Davis. Sean Hill will start in his place. Is that justified?
You know, Tony's played pretty well, but the 4 pick sixes are what will send you to the bench. Dirk passed Hakeem to become the all-time leading scorer among international players. Is that a big deal?
I think it is. I think he's the greatest European player of all
Tony
time.
Parker?
Better.
Oh.
Jared Allen says the Bears still aren't out of this. Go defend your boy.
I want to defend that he feels that way, but they can pull themselves together before the Vikings game on Sunday.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
What do you want him to say? With Dad coming to join you, Elizabeth? I'm Mike Robon.